FM team. Go ahead, Waffle. We'll let you start.
Oh, all right. I'll take it away. All right. So by the time that I had to make my choice of who was the best team, everybody else had already said who their best team was. So I was kind of left with the leftovers. So I kind of went the non-traditional way, and I took the Titans. And as everybody in this league knows, I'm always banging the drum for the offensive line. So, they have a really good young offensive line. And at left tackle, you got my man from Michigan, Taylor Lewan, good and young. And let's see, you got Mariota, so you never have to touch your quarterback, or you can trade him for everything. You also have Madden 17 darling, Derrick Henry, who got turned into a meme almost immediately last year. They had a really good 2017 draft with Adoree Jackson and Corey Davis. So you got two young players to build around there. And you don't have to touch the offense at all from day one. And the D is serviceable. Plus you got a huge amount of salary cap flexibility. So I think long-term they're a really good team.
Good. What about you, Mo?
You got to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They did slip in terms of the actual I think the draft position, what was it, 11, 12? I forget exactly where it was. But they definitely slipped down low. They just have a lot of trade pieces. Young defensive studs and Bud Dupree. You got Ryan Shazier. If you want to trade him, you can. I'm sure someone will pay a ransom for him. And then the offense is electric as ever. You got a stud quarterback you can win right now with, and then the best running back, you just hand him the rock and make him do things. So, going with the Steelers.
Cool. Who ended up with the Steelers?
BZ.
BZ.
Because Cape dropped the ball. While he was
or so he says.
Yeah, sure.
So I think the two best teams in this Madden were the two teams that were both picked, number 1 and number 2 overall, the Seahawks and the Falcons. I think the Falcons have a slight advantage, slightly due to age of their players being a little bit young. They were a solid team last year. You're going to get 4 or 5 serviceable years out of Julio Jones. Maybe if they don't nerf speed and old players, you can get even more years out of them. Just kind of depends how hard they're going to hit them. They had a huge free agent pickup. Everyone's one of favorite D tackles in the league. Dontari Poe's always got that strength, huge nose tackle. It's going to shut everything down. And then they have, on the defense side of the ball, basically their other stud guy who's going to be a monster as always. Maybe take a season or two, though, is Vic Beasley. You also got Desmond Trufant in the secondary, kind of wrapping it up. Good on both sides of the ball. And then the Seahawks, I say, are number 2. I know we're only doing 1, but I'm going to include them because they're basically tied. I think they're the best team year 1. It's going to be really fun to watch Dan choke with them. And they have the best secondary, I think, in Madden. Sherman was tied number 5 in cornerbacks. Somehow Chancellor was number 1 safety. And Earl Thomas was the number 3. And just with those, I think those 3 players are going to lead Dan to the playoffs year 1.
Yeah,
but an early exit
over the finish line.
I think the Seahawks are kind of set up that way where they have a lot of depth, so you can trade that. If you want a stud cornerback number 2, you can get all 4 defensive backs to just be amazing.
Yeah. The problem with the Seahawks is if they changed offensive line, it actually means something. That line is shit.
Yeah.
You're going to have some problems if it means something.
True.
So if you're playing the
Seahawks, they still have Jimmy Graham. They're going to have some guys that can catch the ball. And then kind of like the surprise or nice thing about them, a lot of people forget, is they have Tyler Lockett and Paul Richardson. So you got some speed guys around the outside. And, Madden, it's easy to up all the catching ratings. And so those guys are going to be studs by year 2 or 3.
I will say that Thomas Rawls is also a really good Madden halfback. My boy from Central. Really good Madden halfback.
Well, piggybacking off the O-line thing, I picked the Cowboys. And just for starters, they've got one of the best O-lines in the league. On top of the fact that there's hardly any holes on that team. Probably benefiting from the fact that they're getting generous ratings from the ratings.
Just a little bit.
But yeah, offensively, they're all young guys. You got Dak, you've got Ezekiel Elliott, who are already really high-rated players. Defensively, there's a few young, I think pretty much rookie or in their first or second year. cornerbacks that are 90 plus speed, mid 70s, easily developable, and yeah, I just think defensively, offensively, there's not really many holes, and I think that's going to be one of the better teams this year.
And
So,
let's not forget the
moving-
ratings boost they got.
Yeah. Both
Yeah, for
rookie
sure.
corners. Like, you don't have to draft a corner the entire time because you got two rookies who are both already 75 and 76.
Right.
And then Byron Jones got a crazy amount of love from the ratings guy too. So that's a pretty good team to start with.
And Sean Lee, the age increasing with age.
who's their other linebacker, the young guy?
Jalen Smith, he's
Yeah,
a stud in the game at least.
Yeah, I've got the Cowboys in lads, and I'm pretty happy with it. So,
I would be.
well, yeah. Moving on. Second topic: worst CFM team. Go ahead and start with Waffle again.
Oh, all right. Well, kind of going with the theme of building for the long term, I'm going with the Broncos as my worst CFM team. Because if you're in it for the long haul and you don't want to, it's not just year one and then try and explode, which is what's going to happen to that team. Look at their salary cap situation. Look at the age of their players. If they didn't change the regression, that team is going to be real bad after a couple years. And you're going to be in salary cap hell because you're going to either have to eat a cap hit or take some shit value back to get rid of contracts on guys. And, everything that I said was good about the Titans, you got an unsure quarterback situation because you got either Lynch or Simeon. Neither of them are that good. Your top two receiving options are both one's 30 and the other one's 29. The defense is really elite, but everybody's old. So it's one of those things, if you are looking at like 2, 3, 4 years down the road, you're going to have to replace everybody on that team. So that's... And also their first round pick this year is a 25-year-old left tackle. He's 25. So enjoy that. Yeah. That's my hot take.
Anybody want to talk about that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see because Bio picked them, and he's generally regarded as a really pretty good player.
Division,
being in a division with him, he's very good. So it'll be interesting to see if he just wants to go for the win right away, or if he can work his GM magic and try to...
I will say there have been potential dealings going on in the background between myself and the Broncos. So potentially,
Interesting.
yeah.
Does it involve Von Miller?
Potentially.
I think that's like the number one trade bait on his team. I mean, I feel like you could set yourself up for the future real nice by trading him.
Yeah. Well, the problem with him is we don't know how regression's going to work. So until we kind of get a sense of that, you can't really put a value on him.
Well,
What about you, Mo?
if I can... Yeah, so that kind of is a good segue into why I think the Saints are the worst team to start with. And if, say, like, you get Von Miller, another aging vet who's going to cost a ton of money. I have a feeling in this game, because you have Tom Brady on the cover, a guy like Drew Brees is not going to retire in the first season.
God, I hope not.
So you're going to have that contract on there for a while. And it's just not necessarily a team like, sure, Waffle is going to be pretty good with them and take them pretty far. It's just they're not talented everywhere as you'd expect a team that would win a Super Bowl to be. So go ahead, trade Von Miller. It's going to be another vet you have to pay tons of money to that you can't spend anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to piggyback off Mo's comment there and why the Saints are the worst. So this year I have their salary cap pulled up right now. They're at $160 million, which everyone knows they don't have the best situation going on. But next year they have 59 players locked in for $172 million, including $28 million to Drew Brees. And, I mean, I just even if you get those guys, you're not going to be able to make any free agent pickups. It's going to hurt your chance of making trades with that cap room. I mean, they're just paying old guys too much money. Yep. They have their number 2 wide receiver is
Willie Snead.
No, it's on their depth chart. It's listed as
Ted Ginn.
Yeah.
Ted Ginn. Ted Ginn's 33, and he's locked in for 3 years. I mean, he's going to be a 36-year-old with 70 speed at that point. You're going to be paying him $9 million.
Yeah, that's. I can't really dispute this, but I've
Madden does let you make some trades,
I won't have to worry about paying any rookies next year because I pretty much traded away my entire draft already. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a bold move.
I'm a bold guy.
So my pick was the 49ers, but now I'm kind of second guessing myself because nobody picked the Jets. I could have sworn I saw somebody picking
Street
the
was
Jets.
Jet/Saints.
I have both. Yeah.
Okay.
Jets are the Jets are the worst team.
I mean,
Sorry,
I don't think we
yeah.
have to talk much about it. It's a given. Jets are the worst.
Roster is
All right. Well, then I'll stick with my 49ers. I think, they're in desperate need for the quarterback, and I think especially with this Madden, it's going to be pretty important. A lot of their better players are aging, and a majority of their second through fourth year players are just not starting quality right now. So they don't really have a lot of trade bait or anything like that. I'd guess at minimum, they'd be serviceable for like a year or two if you really want to compete with them. But that's on the contingent that you're a good GM and that you can find a good quality quarterback.
Yeah.
So
yeah, if they made quarterback accuracy matter like they said they did, that team is going to be rough because I think Brian Hoyer is their starter from day one.
right.
At least on the roster. So that's a rough situation. Just like the Jets, I mean, there's just not a lot of talent on the roster, and even if you do get a quarterback, who are you going to give it to? Who are they going to throw to?
All right. Well, let's move on.
One more thing. Jets are the Jets are the worst team, I think, to start off with. Tails is going to have to trade for his mean players and play well. He's still going to make the playoffs. He's my early favorite to win the Super Bowl. The one good thing he has going for him is that they have so much cap room next year. They dropped down to $115 million, so he can he's going to pull a Mo and put fat bids on everyone that's in the free agency, and he'll make trades to get that going. It's going to be a little tough for Tails year one.
Yep.
Cool. Well, Street, how about you let us know your best sleeper player this year?
This one seems, I don't know, I'm going to say he's a sleeper. He was pretty good last year, though. I tried trading for him a few times with no luck. TJ Green. I believe he's 22 years old. It's on my Colts, so I'm pretty excited about it. 6'3", 93 speed, 93 acceleration, and then 78 catching, I believe. He's going to be him, and then Malik Hooker that they just drafted. Those two are going to be able to hold it down a long time. So I'm going to have to go with TJ Green.
What about you, Mo?
I wouldn't necessarily. It's too much of a sleeper, but it's gonna be lowly rated to start with. Deshaun Kaiser, quarterback for the Chiefs.
Browns.
A guy like Browns. My bad. You're gonna be able to. He's got a big arm. He's got decent accuracies to start, and he's getting that rookie love where I guess the ratings guy just gave a bunch of the rookies just higher stats than usual. If you can build around him, that big arm and decent mobility, he's going to be a pretty decent player in the league. It'll be interesting to see if.
Well, will Boner trade him?
Exactly, I have a feeling Boner's going to trade him right away, just because he hates a quarterback that exists in the real life.
I just feel like that Browns rookie class is just gone. Like I just can't wait to see the Myles Garrett sweepstakes. I'm really hoping they happen.
I see. That's what I'm interested in. I think he's going to keep him until he has to extend him, and then he'll trade him away. I can't imagine it'll be a first-year trade.
Yeah, and Garrett is just ridiculously overrated. My God, that strength.
He's automatically the third best defensive player in the game.
Yeah.
To start.
Waffle, you got?
Okay, I wrote down a bunch, but I'm only going to do two, and neither of them are on my team, like I was going to originally say. But the first one, and going back to the O-line, I have a reputation to uphold, and so obviously someone's got to bang the drum for the offensive line. So I actually went for somebody on Mo's shitty team. Pat Elflein, a center out of Ohio State, unfortunately. But he says 73 overall. But if you look into his blocking stats and his strength rate, he's going to be really good. If O-line develops anyway like it did last year, he's going to be really good. He's got 88 strength, 82 run block, and then 78 pass and impact. And impact's cheap to boost. I just think that guy, he's going to be good. and he's 23. I don't think it's gonna be that hard to develop him. He can probably be your starter the entire time of the game. Another one, this one from Detroit, so sticking in the NFC North. Kenny Galladay, the receiver from Northern Illinois. He's 6'4". He's got 90 speed and a pretty ridiculous 87 catching and 87 spectacular catch as a rookie. And he played in the MAC, so not a lot of people know about him and not a lot of people saw him, but we played against him every year, and he just destroyed our secondary every time. The guy doesn't drop passes. He's really good, and I think he's going to be really good in Madden just because he's tall, and that's a meme. So those are my two.
Those are pretty good. My guy is Derek Rivers from New England. He's a OLB/defensive end. If I had him on my team, I'd move him to DE. But he's 23 years old, 72 overall. He's got 85 speed, 89 acceleration, and 84 strength, which is pretty good. But on top of that, he's got 79 finesse and 80 block shedding already. I think his power movement's like upper 60s. But he's just one. What's that?
It's 68.
68, which I don't even care. You could throw him in starting at your first year and just have him rack up that experience throughout the year. And by year 2, he's going to be a beast.
Yeah, if you can get there. If you can get to the quarterback with him.
Yeah. I don't see why that would be a problem, though. 85 speed.
Right. Cool. Well, it could turn into another one of those damn Shannon Kenny people.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
The dream.
Please no.
You got to meme one player every year.
Yeah, there's got to be one. That could be a nice topic for the end. Who is our meme player on our roster?
No, he can't be on the roster now. You got to draft him.
Oh, no.
That's the
John Ross. I mean,
yeah.
He's going to get that catching up. He's young. Oh, my God. So good.
Thank God Jeff didn't get Bengals. Can we just all be thankful for that?
Yeah. Oh, although I do wish Kula had John Ross somehow, just to see the insane amount of passes he would just throw all the streets to him.
That would be worth the price of admission.
Yeah. Cool. Well, moving on to blog ratings and takeaways, I'll just say what I have to say. What I really noticed, because there's really not a lot that they've shown us, unfortunately, but what I've noticed is a lack of well-balanced players and a lot of one-trick ponies. Like, you'll see a cornerback who will have 85 zone, and then you check out his man stats and it's mid 60s. Or you'll see a defensive end like the guy I just talked about, Derek Rivers. He'll be 80s finesse and then have hardly any power movement. I feel like in past Maddens it would have been a little bit more balanced. For me, I kind of like that. Like, I think that's a welcome change. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've taken away so far from the blogs and ratings.
Yeah, and kind of going off of that, it seems like, and I know we've talked about it in chat, it seems like they had an idea in their heads of what guys overall should be, and then they just tweak their awareness rating to get them to that overall. Like, there's guys who are veterans who are good players in the league, and you look at their stats that are actually like specific to their position. Like, if you're looking at a safety, like hit power, zone coverage, play recognition, and they're like 70s, but their awareness is a 90, so they average out and they're like an 82. It's like, that guy's still not very good, but his awareness is high.
Which makes you wonder how big is awareness going to play.
Right.
Yeah, I think going off of that, there was a blog very early on where they mentioned that awareness actually is doing something now. And that kind of goes into my takeaways from their blog is veterans might actually be worth their money now. Because it was a big thing. It's like a guy like a middle tier, 85 overall, all of a sudden cost $12 million to have on the team. It just wasn't worth it. So you'd cut him right away and just field a rookie that would do the same thing. So veterans are actually worth it this game. So it's going to be tough to balance these salary caps just because it would pay to have awareness and play recognition and all those key factors that veterans hold.
Yeah, I really agree. He's in the past. It's always been pretty easy to manage your cap as long as you're not cutting people that have huge penalties associated with it. You could always just put in a 60 overall rookie and he'll play just as well as the 80.
Yeah. So I'm really kind of excited to see that just because it takes a lot of effort to be able to manage the cap well. And if you can just plug in 62 overall players and have them produce the same way just because they're fast, it really wasn't showing off people's skills in terms of salary cap management.
Gotcha. What about you, Street?
Awareness. I've always been a big, I love awareness. I always up it. As soon as the guys get over a certain age and it costs too much, I up that awareness. Done it every single Madden. Last Madden was probably the worst in terms of what it actually did for me, but I still upgraded, so I'm pretty excited for that. I know Mo touched on that, but that's probably the most excited thing. The second thing is, I think we're getting a lot more speed this year. Seems like everyone got a little bit of a speed boost. So pretty excited about that. And then the ratings, I'm not too sure how I feel about all of them. The one that I think it came out maybe yesterday or today, the safeties rating, Cam Chancellor being the #1 safety. I don't really see that. I'm not really sure why they're giving it to him. I don't think he's the best safety on our team even. Earl Thomas got hurt last year. With him out of the game, I think the Seahawks gave up 8 more points per game. I think he should have been a little bit higher. But overall, I'm pretty excited for this Madden. I mean, we've all seen the video of the O linemen and where they actually look like an O line and where one guy just doesn't rush through for some reason. And I know that's going to make someone in here pretty happy.
Yeah, but going off the speed thing, they kind of raised the floor on speed, but they also, with Ross not being a 99, they kind of pushed the ceiling down too. So it seems like there's more guys kind of in that like 88 to 92 range this year. So it doesn't seem like there's a huge amount of speed difference.
Yeah.
We'll see if
And
that
it's-
actually manifests itself.
Going off of that, I think the cornerback ratings, and generally we had all the leaked ratings already. The cornerbacks are just slow. There's no one above like speed 94 for cornerbacks, and it's really tough because you're gonna have guys like John Ross, 98. You can probably get him to 99 in 2 seasons. And it's gonna be tough to cover. So I never understood why Madden, even the rookies that are produced, are generally not higher than 95 speed for rookies.
Well, maybe with that, even you just might actually have to play double coverage on those guys this year. You might have to leave a safety over top.
Yeah.
Instead of just sitting back and cover 3 every play and hoping for the best, and you have a 6'4" corner, so it works.
Yeah. Well, I also feel like the safeties are progressively getting slower and slower each Madden.
Yeah. It does seem that way because, I know at least on the Saints, like Vaccaro is only an 85 speed, and in past years, I would never have used that. But if that's good enough this year, then I will.
Yeah. Cool. Well, moving on to trade talk. I guess what we're going to talk about here is just, positional value, how you approach trade, and things like that. Mo, you want to start us off?
Yeah. My biggest thing, every Madden I try to do it, it's going to make Waffle happy, is I love offensive line. If I can get the run game going, it's always going to be something I can trade for. Past Maddens, I'll admit it, as much as Waffle will hate it, offensive line didn't mean anything at all. I think Dan's deep dives will kind of show that a little bit. Whether they were 99 rated or 67, whatever it was, in terms of the time of protection, rushing, it all evened out to be the same thing. Mm-hmm. But going off of some of the videos and some of the blogs, if they are speaking of O-line actually mattering, it's going to be a huge advantage to teams like Dallas and the Tennessee Titans in terms of just being able to handle the rock and then 4 yards, 5 yards a pop. That'll be pretty.
Well, that picking up pass protection and that kind of stuff too. If you have a good line, I think you should be rewarded. So I really hope that they've invested that in the game somehow.
The numbers they gave us kind of scare me a little bit, just because if you are 80 overall,
80 is 5%.
5% picking up blitz automatically. That's 80. I used to think was a decent player. So it's tough now.
Yeah.
You see, during the offseason, I don't really focus on O-line as much, just because I find that they're one of the easier positions to find in the draft. Usually, I guess mostly through center and the guard positions. But
Mhm.
Yeah, I've never
Yeah,
really had an issue just trying to find O-line in the draft.
I've also had a lot of luck just pulling guys off the scrap heap like UDFA's, and
Yeah.
you sign them and develop them up a little bit.
Yeah, I think my last year I picked up like 2 or 3 guys off of AJ squad that were
Yeah.
starters by mid-season.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure we all had 1 or 2 starters from
Let me
AJ squad.
say the name Jason Spikes, and I think that triggers AJ pretty hard still.
Yeah. But usually what I'll value is just whatever holes I have. So like typically what I'll look at is I need 2 linebackers and I want 3 good cornerbacks. And that's where I'll start on defense. Free agency, I'll usually look for my defensive linemen and things like that. But if there's a cornerback that I really want, I'm not afraid to give up, more than he's worth just to have that. But that's just me. What about you, Shreet?
I've always been a speed guy. Last year was like the one year where I was like, I'm not going to get into speed. Hated myself for doing it about halfway through the year. So definitely all about speed. And then good to go along with that, I've started to get on the Cade type train. I think he was kind of the first one to start this, or the first one that introduced it to me. Height. So we got speed, height, and the third value, how young they are. And the quicker you can get those 3 attributes in Madden, the better your team's going to be in the long run. Like that first draft is going to be so important. If you can get some tall, fast, young rookies, you're pretty much setting yourself up for the long run.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for me is if I'm making a trade, it's got to be a position I need. I'm not going to just trade for a guy just because I want him. Like going in with the Saints, I knew the issue was on defense. I haven't even thought about addressing the offense. That's definitely secondary to like linebackers and DBs. That was the biggest area of need I had. So I'm not really focusing on anything else. But I think one of the biggest things for me is I am fine with trading my draft picks. I've always been comfortable trading draft picks. But the thing is that I've always run into is that my draft picks aren't worth a whole lot. So you kind of have to have a value of – you have to know what the value of your own draft picks are. So if I say, hey, I'll give you a first for this guy, it's not worth the same as if somebody else said it. So usually people will make me pay a little bit more, and I'm sure – Street, you've dealt with that too. It's like, you got
to trade them earlier in the season. So you lose that first game, that's when you got to get on it and get somebody. Yep. It's like, oh, they're your own one. You might end up at 8-8 this season. So
right.
You got to hope.
Yeah. So it's more just knowing the value of your own draft picks and not thinking, oh, I have a first round pick so I can get this guy. When in reality, it's like, that's a shitty pick.
So, something I didn't do for the last game was sim a bunch of seasons offline and see what the draft picks are like. I'm kicking myself for not doing that just because I didn't have the time. I just moved to a new state and stuff, and everyone knew what kind of prospects to expect and where and what the speeds were for generally each position. So I think that's going to be pretty important. Is you just got to get on there, sim a couple seasons, see what the classes look like.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I'm kind of nervous because I've already traded my first round pick. Game's even out, so I'm really hoping that I didn't make a huge mistake and the generated rookies are just gods.
Well, I think I know who you got, right? You told me.
I think I did.
Okay, well, yeah, I think that's a pretty fair trade.
You guys all have some trades lined up?
No, I have 0.
I have 2.
I've got a few. They're not lined up. They're not committed or anything, but I've got a few that I'm talking to.
Yeah, that's how I am. I've got one. We've got the players locked down that we want to trade for, but without seeing the game first, I didn't want to commit to anything.
Right. Yeah, I got to spend a couple hours in CFM first.
Yeah, I have 3 or 4 other trades that are maybe happening, but I have 2 that are for sure.
Well, I'm just on the topic of trades, and who thinks that? Well, who do you guys think is going to be the first boneheaded trade of the year?
I'm tempted to say myself, but no, I'm going to go with myself. I feel like I could have some real regret immediately when I make a trade 3 weeks before the game's even out and I gave up my first round pick and all of a sudden all the rookies are gods.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the amount of direct messages that Boner gets and which move he makes first, because there's not a lot of vets on that team. But I have a feeling year one, if offensive line really matters, guys like Joe Thomas, John Greco, or Joel Bitonio, so the whole left side of that entire line is going to be up for grabs. And I think a lot of people aren't going to pay much for Joe Thomas because it's 2 years and he's going to retire.
And he's expensive.
Exactly. So I feel like a 6th-round pick, 5th-round pick gets it done. It's just who messages him first.
I'm just waiting to see the Boski Boner pipeline continue to flow. Like, what cornerstone player is going to get sent to Dallas this year for peanuts?
What team did? Yeah, Dallas Cowboys. Yeah.
Yep.
I think Boner's going to have the worst trade season 1 just out of history. Either that or Cape is going to rip somebody off. Every single year, Cape makes some pretty decent trades. Somehow he talks people into making stupid trades. I've been on the receiving end of him. I know he's got it in him. Just the way he chats you.
You have to hustle.
He knows how to work the system and ends up with a good team.
You have to be up till 2 a.m. like Cape. Yeah, that's a hustle.
Yeah, I'm pretty much going to piggyback off a street with that. I think whoever ends up trading with Caped, they're going to somebody's going to get a boneheaded trade out of that. And to stay on the Cape train for award predictions, I think Cape's going to make a full sweep. So I'm thinking Rookie of the Year McCaffrey,
Ooh.
Defensive Player of the Year either Kuechly or Cash, whoever decides to use her, and Offensive Player of the Year Cam Newton. I just think, especially with the fact that I think the NFC South, they're playing the NFC North this season.
Yes,
so
we are.
That's a lot of players that you're going to get some easy users, you're going to get some big scores. And yeah, he's just gonna run through with all those, I think.
Also, the AFC East.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of similar with you, Darce, on that. I think Cam's gonna end up winning MVP. I honestly think this year is gonna be a race for Rookie of the Year in both AFC and NFC. There's tons of great rookies all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting to see, because if you want to focus, say Cam gets MVP, then that's stats taken away from McCaffrey. So if McCaffrey gets Rookie of the Year,
receptions.
Exactly. So it's going to be a give or take. I don't think it's going to be too many awards within the same team this year.
Yeah, I think Defensive Player of the Year. I think year 1, I like it to go tends to go towards linebackers, because all the defensive ends don't have all their stats aren't like high 90s yet. Those are pretty easy to upgrade every year, and so they end up being really good. But year 1, I think it's going to come down to user linebacker, and I don't know who the Ravens have. No idea who they've drafted, but Kalash could pick a guy off free agency with 75 speed and get 20 user picks with them. So I think whoever Kalash ends up using is going to win Defensive Player of the Year or Rookie of the Year.
All right. Well, for MVP, I went in the other side of the country. I went Carson Palmer. I think Jeff's gonna air raid with the Cardinals, but I had to pick myself for Rookie of the Year. I went with Alvin Kamara because I know Cape's gonna pound the rock with McCaffrey as much as he can to try and get it. So my entire goal is to make sure that he doesn't win it with McCaffrey, so that I don't have to deal with like superhuman Christian McCaffrey for the next 7-8 years. So, AP, thanks for coming to town. You are benched.
That's a pretty good strategy.
Tomorrow you're going in.
Good luck. I
think
do not want Cape to win.
It would be beneficial for the league if McCaffrey did not win by far. And
I'm doing it for everybody else.
I'm making sure. I'm definitely going to try it with Dalvin Cook. He's going to get his fair share of tries.
I think Dalvin Cook's going to be all the rookie running backs seem really good.
He's starting with 87 elusiveness. That's pretty high.
Yeah. Like, Kamara was a 3rd-round pick, and he's 80 elusiveness and trucking, and he's faster than I thought he should be. And he can catch really well, so he's a lot better than I expected him to be.
Yeah. That's why I really think the Rookie of the Year is going to be a lot closer than people think.
I think so, too. I think for NFC defensive player, I went with Buchanan from Arizona. I think Jeff's going to run around the field with him like a jackass and pick people off, which is going to be great. Let's see. AFC rookie went with Pat Mahomes. You know Alex Smith is never going to see the light of day with Blaze. and then stayed in that division with Khalil Mack for defensive player.
Cool. You guys ready to talk about playoff predictions?
Let's
Sure.
do it.
Cool. So here we just kind of came up with 12 players who we believe that are going to enter the playoffs, and we came up with something that we all agreed on as far as getting up to the Super Bowl. So I'm just going to list off the...
Agreed on. Not 100% though.
Yeah, and we'll discuss that. So for the AFC, I'll start off with the AFC. We've got the 6th seed going to Tyler, 5th seed going to Street, the 4th seed going to Dig, 3rd seed going to Kalash, 2nd seed going to Blaze, and 1st seed going to Tails. Anybody have any gripes with that?
I can't imagine Tails with the Jets gets 1st seed.
I just think in that division is his for the taking. I can't see him losing many games in that division.
Sure, he can go 6-0 there, but
wins.
6-0 there, but then he's gonna have to play some highly rated teams elsewhere. I can't see 1st seed. He's definitely making the playoffs. Trust me, that division is Tails for the taking, but not 1st seed.
I will say that when I did my picks, I picked Street over Dig in the AFC South. Although I don't know which Dig we're gonna get. Are we gonna get the memer who is just hucking it and chucking it like last year, or are we gonna get the one that was really good before? So depending on which one we get, that'll determine the AFC South, I think.
What about guys that we left out? We got Bio.
Well, Tuba guaranteed he'd win the division, so we left him out. Well, I hope that actually does happen. I think that'd be great.
I think Barnesy might be able to take a wild card spot.
Yeah.
He might be able to Blaze down. It kind of depends how Blaze plays. I mean, it's always a new Madden. Ratings go up and down, but I think Barnesy's got a good chance of making the playoffs as well.
Yeah, I think Barnesy's a good player. I put him in over Tyler. I actually picked Tyler 4th in that division.
Wow.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think Barnesy gets in because I know historically he's good on offense and he's pretty highly ranked on defense in the charts and stuff too. So it's just a matter of does he quit before the playoffs start.
Yeah. I think we left out BZ from that, and I think he's going to get the 6th or 5th seed. He's going to be a wild card. It's like I said, it's the best CFM team to start with. It's the Steelers. BZ generally has a great user.
Mm-hmm.
He has Ryan Shazier to work with. If he can shut down the middle of the field again, and I think one of the blogs that Madden put out, EA put out, is that only certain players are going to be able to do what all user linebackers have been able to do in past Maddens, and generally a guy like Shazier will fit into that just because of his high agility, high speed, high acceleration. BZ's got a great user, great stacked team, hard to lose with that. He should definitely get a spot. That's what I think.
Interesting.
So we've got it in the wild card, Kalash versus Tyler. We've got Tyler winning that, and Street winning versus Dig. Any gripes with that?
I have some. I can't beat Dig. Dig, we go back a long ways from Madden CC. He's going to see this and hopefully he doesn't make it this far, but he's going to be real upset if he sees this. He's going to be like, yeah, you rage quit once against me when I called him out for sending nanos, which in his fairness, he was not doing it that game, but he does have a history of sending nanos. So I apologize. I don't think I can beat Dig straight up.
Oof.
Unless he's not putting time and effort into this Madden.
Fair enough.
The problem is Dig is getting a really good team for this Madden. The Titans are set
really
up
good
for
team picked really low. It shocked me how low the Titans went, and the fact that they fell to him. He got a great team.
It was one of the teams I was considering at 8 or 7. I forget where I picked, and I kept seeing them falling, so I was pretty surprised with that.
I was too.
We got the AFC South though is tough. We got 5 Super Bowls there, tied for the most of any division. I mean, it could be anybody, so who knows what's going to come out of there.
Yeah, and Big Papa's there too, and he's not anybody to roll, especially with Houston, who's a good team. I mean, that's...
Yeah, I mean, I think we got... Colts are rated pretty low. I got them at like 28, but I think after looking at their team, they're really solid. And then pretty much every team in the division is solid.
And there are a lot of young teams in that division too, so going to be decent for a long time.
So in divisional rounds, we've got Tails versus Tyler, and we've got Tails winning that, and we've got Blaze versus Street with Blaze coming through with that victory.
You know, like the guy said earlier, the Jets getting that far, I just think at a certain point with a really shitty team, you're going to run into a buzzsaw where your team just can't play well.
Mhm.
And I just think it's going to be hard for the Jets to get far in the playoffs unless he gets some real good meme players on his team quickly.
Right. Especially in this scenario, because he's going to be playing Tyler, who has the Raiders, and that's one of the better teams.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'd go with Tyler and the Raiders over Tails and Jets.
I'd take Tails. I think he'll trade for some older QB, maybe like a later round pick, someone that doesn't want him. He'll get somebody that actually can throw the ball. He should do pretty well.
I think if I had to guess, I'm going to think we're getting like Alex Smith or something. Just that's kind of my guess of which quarterback's going to go there.
Yeah.
And then I don't think Blaze can beat me. So if I do end up somehow past Dig, I think the last time that I remember playing Blaze in the Blaze was Madden CC. He quit the game in the third quarter and never played Madden again. So
I've actually never played Blaze, so the only rationale I have for any of this picking is like the records and charts and everything. So my rationale is probably not very sound for any of these picks for people I haven't played.
Well, it's also hard not to give it to a guy who just won the last Super Bowl. Yeah.
But is there an asterisk on that Super Bowl because it was the last season and a lot of people were gone or completely disengaged and just memeing?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I think so. And
I think-
also to talk shit about Blaze, he's only got a 391 win percentage against playoff teams. So
Wow,
not
okay.
the highest up there.
They're bringing the spice.
It's a lot lower than I expected.
That is lower. All right.
Well, we're talking all this shit on him, but we've got Tails versus Blaze in
Well,
the
we
AFC
think-
playoffs, and we have Blaze winning that.
Well,
So
I
how
think
about we talk about why that won't happen?
if we would have picked the Jets coming out of the AFC, we would have looked like morons. So I'm glad we didn't do that.
Right. I
So
think yeah,
that's
this
the
is where they
defense.
run into that wall for sure.
It's honestly, I can see it happening in the division round. If he gets a bye, I can see it happening in the division round because at a certain point, once he gets to the playoffs, everybody's pretty good. And if your team is like 10, 15 overall lower than somebody, I just don't see you doing it.
I would agree. Yeah, I think it's no contest on this one. It's going to be Blaze versus Tails, but Tails has the Jets, and it's just hard to win with the Jets season one.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, moving on to the NFC. With the 6th seed, we have Dan, 5th seed Waffle, 4th seed Mo, 3rd seed goes to me. The 2nd seed would be Jeff, and the 1st seed Kate. How's everybody feel about that?
Yeah,
I
think
know none of you guys picked me to make it to the playoffs.
Really?
I thought I did.
I don't think
Damn
so.
it. Yeah.
But it's cool.
I think Caped is definitely the favorite. I mean, he's got a really good team that plays pretty similar to the way he likes to play, and you got a weak schedule, relatively speaking, at least. Because I think they got like the 3rd place schedule, plus they got NFC North and AFC East. So I think he's definitely a number one.
Yeah, he was also one of I think it was I can't remember if it was 3 or 5 players that his win percentage has gone up every Madden, and that's pretty impressive. So I mean, he's one of the guaranteed people that are gonna be solid this Madden. So
Yeah.
I think picking him at the number 1 shouldn't be a surprise to anybody.
No.
Maybe Jeff can outtake him for number 1. Maybe switch those two around, but Cape's definitely up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just don't see Jeff being a number 2 seed. He's a changed man. He's going on vacation a lot. He's going on auto a lot. This is not the Jeff that we know and we're used to. So he'll make the playoffs, but I can't see him being 2 seed.
Do you think Dan wins that division over him?
I think so. The Seahawks are really tough. The secondary is loaded. You have Russell Wilson. You have great running backs. You have speed at the receiver position. It's hard to. I can't imagine Dan losing to Jeff on those matchups.
Okay.
Cool. Well, in the wild card, we've got myself versus Dan and Mo versus Waffle. Coming out of that would be Dan and Waffle. I think it'd go either way with me versus Dan. I beat him in Lads one year, and the last time we played was in Dynasty Champions, and he beat me in that by 1 point. So it could go either way. I don't feel bad giving him the win right there. I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's
I'd say 7 out of 10 times I feel like I could beat Dan, but it could go either way.
I think in this prediction, just based off of the team, we're going to go with Dan.
Yeah, I think the Seahawks year one is going to be a really tough team to beat. Yeah, and as far as me and Mo goes, those games are usually really, really close, but we'll see.
I just don't see Waffle pulling that one out. Can't agree with that one.
Waffle's got a 700 win percentage against winning teams, and Mo is all the way down at.
Let's not talk about this.
345. So he's one of the lower. He's 19-36 against playoff teams. So I would give the edge to Waffle there.
Yeah, and I think that's best case scenario for you, Waffle, is playing the winner of the NFC North.
North? Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, in division round, we have Dan playing Caped and Waffle playing Jeff. Out of those rounds, we have Caped winning and we have Jeff winning.
That's probably fair. Yeah. Jeff and I think we're about even playing each other, but I just think he's going to have a better team, and if he's engaged, he's going to win.
Yeah, I think it comes down to season one. I'm going to favor a lot of the stronger teams versus the weaker teams, and Saints are my choice for the weakest team to start CFM with. It's going to be hard to overcome Jeff and David Johnson. He's still going to have Larry Fitzgerald, who's going to be very effective for him.
Yep. And John Brown and Carson Palmer will still be real good.
Yeah.
It's got a good. Cardinals have a good secondary too, so it should help out.
Yeah.
Especially with Jeff's user linebacker in that secondary, and it's gonna be dirty.
Oh yeah, if he could do that with like Marcus Flowers in Cincinnati, I'm not really looking forward to seeing what he's gonna do with a guy who's a freak at that position.
So that leaves us with Caped versus Jeff for the NFC Championship. I think we kind of all agreed that Caped would win this. Somebody might have a differing opinion. Anybody?
It's a coin flip.
I think once you get down to this point, they're pretty much all coin flips.
Yeah. I would side with Jeff in this matchup. Historically, I think just based off of the way chat goes when they play each other, it's always Jeff pulling some lucky rabbit out of the hat and figuring something out.
It's flowing.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, moving on to the Super Bowl, we've got Caped versus Blaze. What do you guys think happens here?
Initially, I said Blaze, but the more that we're hearing about it, and Blaze maybe not being that good, I'm kind of starting to second guess this. But at the same time, picking Cape to win a Super Bowl is like, I don't know if that's a smart pick either. So maybe
I wouldn't bet my life on that.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to stick with Blaze. I'm going to stick with my original answer.
Yeah, I'm picking Blaze in that matchup.
I think it's going to be dependent on who Cape gets in trades. I know he's going to end up with another superstar on his team for peanuts, but it depends who he gets. So I'm going to go with Cape overall. It's going to be his first Super Bowl. I think we might see a dynasty out of him this year and finally end the circle jerk of no Super Bowls for him.
It's probably one of the more fun circle jerks, though. I'd hate to see it end.
I'm going to go with Blaze here, just because I really don't think the Panthers are as good as people think they are. I think they have a few holes and things like that. I think it'll be close, but I think Blaze just pulls through. I don't think Kate will be able to keep up with him.
I think a big part of the Blaze thing, too, is how good will Pat Mahomes be? year one.
Yeah.
If the quarterbacks with lower accuracies are nerfed like they might be in sim style, I think he might struggle since I know he likes to throw the ball a lot. I think he could really struggle. Quarterback accuracy means a whole lot.
That's true.
So we'll see. But if he wins Rookie of the Year, he'll probably get a bunch of XP and it won't matter anymore. But we'll see if he can get to that point.
Cool. Well, speaking of caped, best player to not win a Super Bowl. I've got cape there just for obvious reasons. But at the same time, I also believe when you show that you can make it to the Super Bowl, you're good enough to win it. So that's probably going to change.
Yeah, I think eventually he's probably going to break through. I don't know when, and hopefully not against me. But
now with this, is this overall, or are we saying for Madden 18, who's going to be the best player to not win the Super Bowl?
Madden 18.
Madden 18. I think
we'll
Cape pulls one out and he wins one in this game.
I think so.
I think if a guy like Barnesy sticks around for a while, he'll be really good, but he'll just have a tough time getting out of that division and then winning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna pick myself here. I think I have the most losses in Bros Super Bowl histories. I think I'm 2-5, and so the two that I won it with were overpowered Seahawks teams that I took over, not having them right away, I believe. And so, it was the same year. So yeah, it was the dig year. And so I'm gonna say I make the playoffs a few times, probably missed out on a little bit, but never gonna get close to winning the Super Bowl again with
I was tempted to say the same thing and say that I'll probably never win one, but since you've said that, I think to pick somebody else that's not me, I'm going to go with Tyler and the Raiders. I think he's going to have a really good team, and he's probably going to be like 650 win percentage or so, somewhere in that neighborhood, probably knocking on the playoffs every year. I just don't know if he'll take it over the goal line and win one.
It's a good one. All right, well, moving on. Most and least fun to play. Waffle, you go ahead and start us off.
This one, I feel like I don't want to drop any names for this.
You have to.
It's one of those things, like, you're going to piss somebody off. But just generally speaking, the worst people to play are the people that, if you're beating them pretty bad at halftime, if it's like 21 points at halftime, they just give up, essentially. And they start playing like a bitch, and they just run the ball to get it over with. They don't try to keep playing and scoring or do anything. They just call. And they know you have to run the ball, so they just call 0 blitzes, and they just blitz. And then they just run the ball, and those games just aren't fun to play. It's just not fun to play when that happens. But as far as best, I personally enjoy somebody who'll get on the mic and bullshit during the game. So I don't like not having a mic. I tend to get a little more mad when I don't have somebody in my ear. So
yeah, if I'm talking to someone during the game, I lose all of my competitiveness. There's no way I'm gonna be angry at anything.
Well, I can't talk to anybody on a mic when I'm playing a game, just because I feel like I'm way too distracted.
Yeah.
I prefer being on a mic because I feel like it keeps me more level.
Yes.
As far as, you can't really like scream obscenities and whatnot when you're on the mic with somebody.
Or you can just look like an ass.
Yeah, right.
So Mo, most and least fun to play.
I would kind of agree with Waffle, and the least fun is the people that give up, but I'll name names. I don't care. Park beat me last Madden, but I think there was a couple games where I played him and it was done by the third quarter, and it was just fuck it, run it out, whatever, I'll bomb it. A guy like Raw Dog has done that plenty of times, where he'll admit it in chat, like, all right, time to knee it out or kill the clock is from starting from second quarter. That's generally the worst game of Madden to play, is when by second quarter you're killing the clock.
Yeah,
it's not fun
when they tell you to chew the clock starting in the third quarter, that game is gonna suck.
Yeah, most fun to play, I'd say it's a tie between Jeff, Caped, and Waffle and Blaze, just in terms of the different types of strategies they throw at you and guys like those, they'll always take what the defense gives. They're not trying to force their game plan. Generally, their game plan is to make you force you to call some dumb defense. It's like you're getting frustrated, you're not getting any pressure, so you call blitz. Now all of a sudden they're hitting those quick passes, and it really fucks with you. So you have to figure out what they're doing and be on top of your game on every single play.
Yep. Street.
I'm gonna pick 3 for each. My 3 favorite to play are gonna be Caped, Chili, and BZ. Normally have fun games. Nobody gets too upset when one of us loses. It's always pretty close games too, which makes it exciting. And then my least favorite to play would probably be Dig, just from old Maddens, haven't played him recently. And then by far my least favorite to play would have to be Dan. Me and Dan have a little bit of history, but every single time we play, it ends up being just not fun for me, whether I'm winning or losing. Him calling me out in chat saying dumb shit. So kind of dread every time we have to play.
For me, least favorite. The thing with this is I've only had like maybe 17 games. I forget how many games I've played in this league. But the only bad experience I've had playing somebody in this league was with Park, and I ended up losing that game. So I don't even know if I should have felt bad or not. But it's whatever. So it's easy to put him there. I'm willing to give him a second chance though. Love you, Park. Most fun to play, I have Kate. Reason why is I've played him in the playoffs maybe 3 times in lads. I think we've played each other twice in bros, and every game has come down to 3 or less points. Most of them are, like 2 or 1 point games, and they're just always down to the buzzer, and they're just a lot of fun.
We've been way too nice to Caped.
Yeah, we're really.
I think
He's gonna be so excited watching this. We gotta talk some shit about
I
him.
was worried about that.
Yeah, say
He
something.
actually thinks he can tip a cow over.
You can't tip a cow over.
You can?
It's called cow tipping. Yeah, I've done it.
Oh my lord.
Yeah.
You're from
My
the
buddy
Midwest,
grew up on
you
the
should-
farm, so we used to go to like not his place, but he didn't have any cows, but his neighbors did. Yeah, and you can tip them over. That's not too hard. They're like they just kind of buckle.
I won't argue it here, but I'm pretty sure that's not possible.
They
We'll
sleep
save that
safe.
for chat tomorrow.
It's just
I'm pretty sure that's possible, and I think it kills them, doesn't it?
Oh God, I hope not.
I think it does.
so.
I could be wrong. Anyway, let's move on to our final actual topic, and that's best and worst GM. I'm going to sit this one out just because I haven't been around long enough to make a good decision on this, but I'd like to hear what you guys have to say.
I think worst GM for me, probably Boner, just because I hate everything about the way that he plays, and I mean that's fun for him, but the idea of having a fire sale and then having to rely on being able to draft people and then not showing up for half the drafts is just, that sounds terrible to me. Honestly, I can't really think of somebody who'd be the best GM. Maybe somebody like Bio. Like, he built a really nice team in Madden 17, as evidenced by the fact that Blaze won a Super Bowl with it. So maybe him.
I think for that, it's a combination of the pieces you start with and what you're able to do with it. A guy like Bio is definitely able to build, quote unquote, a super team, just because Steelers, my pick to start best CFM team to start with, they have a lot of trade pieces, a lot of studs everywhere. You can get a lot in return for it. But I'd agree with you with Boner, just because that I think he says he prefers drafted players. That's just how he likes the game. He likes to destroy the team. It's just not fun. The reason we don't play a fantasy league, if we want to play a fantasy league, we can build a team however we want, is we have these NFL teams, and Boner just completely destroys them. Worst GM by far in my eyes.
You got Street?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard not to pick him, just because of basically every reason Mo just said and what we've experienced him trading away good players. I also want to throw out that when someone can convince you to take a team in your own division, the worst team before you, that also should have some thought to it. Let me see. I'm just looking at the team list right now, seeing who else makes pretty awful trades on a consistent basis. A few names come to mind, but nobody quite lives up to his hype.
I think a big point of contention in chat is not even people that do make the bad trades, it's the owners that don't trade at all.
Yeah.
People give Hurley endless amounts of shit for not trading his best players, Danielle Hunter and Anthony Barr. But he does not engage in any trade talks at all. I offered a second-round pick for Matt Asiata, I believe, started the game last year. He gave him like 2 total carries throughout the whole game, and he's like, nope, he's a big part of my future. Can't trade him.
God.
Cool. I think that wraps it up for all of our topics.
All right.
We've got one last thing that I know we wanted to try out, and that would be called the SideBros Showdown. So the way this works is our topic for tonight is who is the better GM. The way it's going to work is Street is going to argue for Mo, Mo is going to argue for Waffle, and Waffle is going to argue for Street. I said that right, guys?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
Everything will be judged and scored on your arguments, your facts, your passion, and your creativity. We're going to start off with, I think it's going to be 4 rounds. We'll go around, have you guys introduce your choice, give general reasons why your choice is the correct choice. After that, you guys are going to go around and explain why the other 2 are not as good of an option. At the end of that, you're going to go around for rebuttals, and then we'll finish off with closing arguments. So we'll go ahead and start off with Street.
All right, so I'm taking Mo as the choice. As I said earlier in the cast, I think 3 of the most important things in all of Madden are height, speed, and how young you are. And Mo was able to trade for 2 monster corners. I ended up drafting them, but I believe he traded up for both of those. And those guys, I mean, if you can do that at the beginning of this Madden, you'll be set for life. He obviously recognizes what is good in Madden players and actively tries to reach out and get them.
No?
Guy like Waffle, great GM, great guy. He believes in himself. He knows what he does well, and he will maximize that. So a good GM doesn't just make the best trades. He builds a team the way he wants to play. And through some Madden voodoo magic, he gets all of his offensive line to the Pro Bowl. He gets the backups to the Pro Bowl. He gets them all to win tons of awards. And to be able to build up your offensive line the way you want it, give him 99 awareness, 99 block throughout all different attributes. He knows what he does well. He runs the ball, gets 10 seconds of protection every pass play. Great GM. He's confident in his game plan.
All right, so I had the easiest job of anybody here, unlike Mo, who just had to make that whole thing up. I'm actually defending Street, who's actually won something, which is good. Two Super Bowls. He's also really crafty, as evidenced by the fact that he'll do what it takes to win, like signing a free agent illegally, right under the nose of the commissioners. But he's also somebody who's willing to trade like a big name guy, like trading Hopkins last year. Like you got to have the balls to be able to trade a big name guy if it's the right move. Like when he took over the Falcons team from Toph, who had added every receiver under the sun. You got to be willing to trade a superstar. He wouldn't trade with me, which is probably a good decision for him. So that definitely adds to his repertoire. But he also knows the value of special teams, as evidenced by the fact that he won Kicker of the Year 6 times with Graham Gano. So, you win and lose games in special teams. And somebody who knows the emphasis to put on that clearly is the best GM.
Cool. Well, Street, how about you tell us why the other 2 are not the better options?
Okay. Hold on one sec. Let me find my little thing here. All right. So Waffle, I think his The reason he's not the best option is he thinks the Saints are a serviceable team. They have no redeeming qualities. Wait, you're the Saints, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Saints have no redeeming qualities. They're in cap hell. They've got $20 million in dead cap this year that you can't do anything with. I was looking through their team, and no trade bait. I don't know how you're going to get Von Miller from the Broncos or whoever it may be. I just don't see it happening. And then secondly, with Darce, I know he is not the best GM.
I'm not.
Oh,
I'm not.
oh, you're not. Oh,
you have to argue against yourself.
Oh, shit, I have to argue. Oh, my God, that's easy. I make awful trades consistently. I trade for players that I want, but I consistently give up too much. I mean, my best trade that I've ever made was a shitty trade at first, where I traded Luke Kuechly to Dig and the Seahawks and ended up winning the Super Bowl with them, and I got very little in return. The only key factor was that Dig ended up quitting, so I took over the team. May have been the best trade, but if he hadn't have left, that would have been the worst trade in Bros history.
Wow.
Mo, tell us why Street and yourself are not good options.
All right. So Waffle mentioned that Street clearly a better GM than the other two here, just because he has some hardware to go along with it. Remind everyone again what team you won the 2 Super Bowls with.
My favorite team?
Right, the Seahawks of the Maddens, where the Seahawks were almost unstoppable. Any GM can do that. You yourself mentioned the terrible trade you made of Luke Kuechly to the Seahawks. So a bad move. You got lucky. You switched on to them. And great job. Great GM skills. You won with the stacked team. Great job. Mo, that guy sucks. He can't. What has he really done this last Madden? He hasn't beaten anyone. He hasn't really won anything. Those 2 tall cornerbacks you spoke of, terrible stats. Deshaun Stark was one of them. He was the higher picked of the 2. He goes to the Broncos Tails team and automatically makes a Pro Bowl his first season. So clearly Mo doesn't know what he's doing. He spends terribly in free agency.
Interesting. All right, Waffle, what you got?
Okay, so I think it's pretty obvious that I am the worst GM of the 3 of us, just based on the fact that I routinely make trades with Caped. I think everyone can realize that that's a really terrible decision. So that should pretty much disqualify me from the get-go. Also, I've been known to accidentally put a first-round pick on my practice squad, which gives you a huge cap penalty. And then I had to grovel to get the cap penalty cleared and the contract restored, because when you put him on the practice squad and then sign him back, it eliminates their contract. So he was on a 1-year deal. So I don't think either of you guys have done that, so that's pretty bad. As for Mo, I mean, that shitty Browns team, that the only redeeming feature was Will Osborne, the meme tight end, that he was always on the verge of getting suspended from overuse. And then you got the 2 aging wonders of Ziggy Ansah and Michael Bennett on the ends, paying $35 million a year to watch them get pancaked by, every offensive line that he came up against. It's just not smart, not a good use of your money. When you're a bad team, sometimes it's best to just save the money.
Cool. Any of you guys have any rebuttals?
Yes. Mo said that anyone can win with the overpowered Hawks, and that is false. Key point, Dan did not win any Super Bowls with the Seahawks.
Wait,
I thought he did.
Dan's only Super Bowl is with the Seahawks.
Okay. Well, let's
Nice.
see here.
I like
I didn't
that.
think he had any. Oh, shit, he did. All right, disregard.
It's cool. Just pretend it was planned so we can just have another dig at Dan.
See, I have a rebuttal. I think Street's trade of Kuechly was some of the most masterful strategy in league history. I mean, pulling the strings behind the scenes to, let someone, get themselves kicked and then swoop in and take the super team. It's a stroke of genius. I'm currently trying to work on getting AJ kicked so I can get the Falcons. It's not as easy as it looks.
It's just going to take one chat blow up where his agenda just goes too far.
All right, Mo, you have anything?
I'll defend, I guess, my terrible spending in free agency and the top cornerbacks. Once I realized that Chili and his speedy wide receiver Seth Brandstad or whatever it was burned both of my corners ridiculously in one game for 3 touchdowns and 280 yards, I decided to ditch those guys and move them to safety. I got young, dumb 62 overall cornerbacks that were just fast as all hell. Put them at corner, the tall guys at safety. Really changed my defense, and I started winning in the later half of the game. I think I didn't have any playoffs just because of the division I was in, but I think 10-6, 8-8, 9-7, those kind of seasons.
I think you made didn't you make the playoffs that last season at 10-6?
Yeah, the very last season, but again, just like Blaze Super Bowl, it doesn't count.
Right.
Good point.
Well, you guys all made very good arguments, but I'm gonna have to go with Mo arguing for Waffle. I think a lot of it has to yeah. I liked what he said about the fact that you build a team that you want to play. I think what really helped Mo out is the fact that you guys had to argue for him, and he was probably the weakest link out of the 3. So yeah, I think that helps.
Can't you give me a win without dissing?
Yeah, but congrats, Mo. You've won.
Hey, thanks.
That's your first Madden Bros win.
Oh, thanks, bro.